From the Paddock Mall Studios, this is WOCA, Ocala, Gainesville, The Villages, 1370 AM, 96.3 FM, The Source.
right, 6 minutes after 9 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in. I like this section of the week. This is what I like this. It's just a nice place to be. We're talking about gardening. Carol Ann Baldwin is here. The phone line is open. For those of you who don't know, we have a temporary phone number, and I think this might be, hopefully, the last day we'll be using this because they're fixing things. Cool. But in the meantime, if you want to call Carol Ann during the show, we welcome you. We invite you. I love hearing you guys talk. I just kind of sit here and listen. But the number is 863-473-4370. You want to talk to Carol Ann about your garden at length? Go ahead. She's here for the whole hour. The sooner you get in, the better, right?
That's it.
863-473-4370. Call me up if you need me to repeat it. It's a good joke. It's a good joke, right?
Come over and post onto the Facebook on the In the Garden page. You go, hey, Larry.
Hey, speaking of your In the Garden page, I posted some photos because I had to go out west.
Yes,
my brother had a bad accident. And so I went out to see him. And anyway, so I was in the desert and I took some pictures of some desert plants.
Cool.
You don't see them around here.
No, you don't.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, they are. They're different. I mean, we can grow some cacti and things like that here, but they're not that same kind. Just because ours won't take
It seems like everything I touched had thorns on it. Is that like?
It's possible just because of where that is the leaf structure of that kind of plant, because it is so dry, right? That for its survival, that it can't have a large leaf because there's not enough moisture to sustain plants with very big leaves on it.
And the little thorns are protected from animals that might eat it.
Right. How can people say there's no God? Yeah. Plants have thorns to stop protect them as a self-defense.
Oh, come on. See, that's what I mean. There's evidence everywhere.
And also, though, that some of those big, what are the saguaro? The big tree.
I saw them.
That ones.
But I didn't get close enough to get a good picture.
That sometimes that you'll see, on a lot of the nature shows, where there is a bird nest where they've hollowed out a section. So those thorns are also protecting
another animal,
another creature.
I never thought of that.
That it is a symbiotic relationship that the bird can actually hollow out an area without harming the plant.
And they know to do that.
And they know to do it, and that they're protected. I mean, we have things like, within some of the other trees around here that, animals will hollow out, usually out of a dead stand piece on a tree or something like that, and make a nest out of it. But and it's not necessarily killing off the tree. Or we use they'll use the snags. Like if you ever notice, if you drive through the Ocala National Forest, when they've logged out some pines and things like that, and they leave these, it's like, why did they leave the dead ones sticking up? They have to. That's actually where, the bird of prey will hang out up there looking for the bunny.
See, I didn't know that.
I think they have to leave a certain amount of them. Kind of thing. I mean, they'll fall naturally on their own, but...
So the pictures I posted, I know the only one I know is the Joshua tree. I don't know what that other one is called, or the other one.
Yeah, I'm not.
There's
yeah.
a couple of. There was one really pretty, Carolyn. It had lots of stringy pieces, and then red flowers on the end of it. Oh, and also, you know that thing that looks like football-shaped coconuts?
Yeah.
Well, that's the Joshua tree.
Okay.
So I'm thinking that's just the
fruit
with the
fruiting body, the seed,
whatever
the seed
it makes.
pod,
I don't know.
fruiting, yeah.
I'm an East Coast kid. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know about that desert stuff.
Yeah.
I saw one life form, by the way. We saw it besides humans. I saw a lizard. I got a good picture of it.
Oh, yeah.
But it's not like our lizards.
No. Again, it's that whole climate thing. It's a whole different.
But it wasn't that big. It was
just a smaller one.
Yeah.
I know they get some good size lizards out there.
What I hear, yeah.
That's.
But anyway. So.
Yeah, there's the one with the long pokey.
If you want to call in, I apologize. This is the new number. I have to be able to hear you. So let me put my headset up here. If you call and if you want to be on the show, you need to call 863-473-4370, and I will try to keep my eye on the screen so I see you.
And it is a local call. So don't worry.
It is. I know. It sounds like a long distance.
Yeah, it sounds like long distance. But then again, on cell phones, is there any such thing as a long distance call anymore?
I'm not really sure.
Yeah, because you don't get charged for long distance anymore.
I think if you were in England, it would be, but
yeah. Well, yeah, then you're calling country to country kind of thing. Yeah, yes, so that's why we don't answer things that are coming in from other countries. Yeah, when somebody tries to, you see that weird number that begins with a 2. Don't answer that one or call it back.
Or a zero. Stuff with
the zeros,
yeah,
right. Yeah, zeros, 2s, things like that. That means it's not in the United States. So unless you're expecting a call from
I do have a call now. Okay.
outside the country.
Good morning. You're on the air with Carol Ann.
Yeah, good morning. Good
morning.
Glad to hear you're back. Just wanted to say that the post office food drive did quite well. They figured close to 300,000 pounds here in Marion County.
Wow.
And
that's quite a
That's very good. Yeah, thank you for doing that, Jim.
Yeah. Okay.
Sounds like you got a cold.
And yeah, a little bit of a cold. I got stuck out in the rain chasing the cats out of the rain.
Sounds like the opening for the Flintstones.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but I'm on the mend.
All right.
That's good.
Well, thank you for what you do, Jim. Always helping out the community. Thank you, Jim.
You have a good day.
Thank you. Yeah. Yeah, I had my bag was on. I figured because my mailbox doesn't have a hook. It just has the thing that opens the bottom, the door on the mailbox, so there's nothing on top. So I couldn't hang the bag, and I thought, well, even if I could, it's have to pull my mailbox over. So I was like I said, ooh, can I balance it on top? And I did. It was like a little saddlebags sitting on top of my mailbox. When I did, it's like I got that balanced out pretty good. So I was like, okay, will it stay there? And I'd look at it and go, yeah, okay, it's still there. So it didn't fall off because of the guy's got to get out of his truck to pick them up. That's kind of, that's going to make a long day.
I'm not being rude. I was looking for a story here this morning about Roundup. Did you happen to hear it?
Yeah.
I guess they settled on some kind of a case.
On a case, because the one I had was, and I probably won't find it. I should have saved
California jury awards $2 billion in Roundup cancer trial.
And that's crazy because I actually just saw, and I won't find it. I'll try to find it, but I'll have to look it up via a friend who shared it because I should have saved the article so that I could find it. I may have to find it when we do go to a break or something like that. Because it was also found that there was no link.
Isn't that crazy?
To it. So also it's I don't get it, on some of that. So it's one of those weird kind of things. I'm not sure.
Good morning. You're on the air with Carol Ann.
Good morning, guys.
Hey, Hugh.
See, with that Roundup now, the chemicals that are in Roundup, wouldn't it be in the other products that do the same thing?
It would be considered, it's the glyphosate is what they're trying to do. But then again, I'm going to see if I can find this. article, which I don't think it's on this page. I gotta find the article that she had shared yesterday, and it was one that pretty much goes through that going on the testing and things like that. Has shown it's not any. Anything, and not just United States' testing and certification kind of things, but Europe's and Australia's and this and that have all come to the same conclusion.
Oh, really?
So it's kind of one of those things. I think most of this stuff is coming out of emotional, and that yes, maybe Monsanto or whomever they were not forthcoming with information, so it looks like you've got something hidden. Doesn't mean your product is bad. Mm-hmm. It means you hid results that might have skewed things, along the ways. But of course, that chemical's been around for years. So it's a tough one on that to try to. I know I can.
So
find
to Hugh's point, are there other products on the shelf that have that same?
Oh, sure. It's a generic.
But they don't
chemical.
Get sued. The other companies don't.
Right, because it was the one who originally made it. I guess is who's being done, or that they'll do it through. Some kind of insurance kind of thing, because you figure it's not really going after, it's not
a neighbor of mine suggested Roundup is a little on the expensive side, and he was using a generic or whatever at the local store, and I've changed over to that. It must be about 2 years now.
Sure.
And it works the same, and it's quite a bit cheaper, but I would imagine it still has the killing power or the same chemicals as Roundup has.
Right. Oh, it is. It's the same. It's the same stuff. Usually, your generic one, if you read the labels on them, sometimes they're a higher concentration for less money in the same size bottle. But when you read the directions, also you're mixing down to a lower concentration, so a little more of the easier to kill weeds kind of thing. You have to read the directions. And of course, what I start out with, well, when you start reading the label and things like that, but I did find what this was, the glyphosate reevaluation. The EPA Administrator Andrew Wheeler, quote, EPA has found no risks to public health from the current registered uses of glyphosate. No risk to human health from current uses of glyphosate. No indication that children are more sensitive to glyphosate. No evidence that glyphosate causes cancer. And no indication that glyphosate is an endocrine disruptor. The EPA's cancer evaluation is more robust than the International Agency for Research on Cancer's evaluation. EPA's cancer evaluation for glyphosate is also more transparent. EPA's cancer conclusion is consistent with other regulatory authorities and international organizations, including the Canadian Pest Management Regulatory Agency, the Australian Pesticide and Veterinary Medicines Authority, the European Food Safety Authority, European Chemicals Agency, the German Federal Institute for Occupational Safety and Health, and the New Zealand Environmental Protection Authority, and the Food Safety Commission of Japan.
Yeah,
so,
I never looked real close, but I wonder if there is on the product, if there is a warning that it can cause cancer, and if there isn't, there should really be something like that on there.
Well, but they're saying it doesn't. The EPA has just said that it doesn't.
Why are people getting cancer then?
Why do people get cancer at any time? We don't know.
Yeah.
It's been proven. I mean, they're showing that it's not what they call an endocrine disruptor. The reason people are getting payment on these lawsuits is more of an emotional thing. Like I said, somewhere along the line, Monsanto either failed to disclose something, and so they're playing on that. But it's if Roundup was such a cancer causer, every person, there'd be a heck of a lot more instances of just average, everyday Joe homeowner, gardener with cancers, with the non-Hodgkin's lymphomas, because you figure the homeowner doesn't follow the directions and does not use personal safety equipment. A licensed, a trained pest control company or weed control company, they're wearing gloves. They're wearing the proper equipment, and they handle it a lot more than the homeowner does. I mean, I have a bottle of Roundup in my shed that I've probably had for 3 years, and I've used it. I think I've mixed 2 gallons. So how often do we use it? I mean, if you're out there every day with it, that's, even then, are you spraying yourself? Are you spraying yourself with it? You shouldn't be.
Yeah.
Are you washing your hands?
When I'm out there with my little gun, my little sprayer, if a little bit of a wind comes up, I can get some on my legs or on my feet, because I wear sandals.
Right.
But I usually hose off when I'm done, you know.
But if you read your directions, you're supposed to wear closed-toed shoes.
Yeah.
When you're applying it. But I mean, and if I get it on my hands, if I'm mixing it, as soon as I'm finished, I go wash my hands.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to, any chemical. You wash your hands after cleaning the windows in your house. Using Windex.
Exactly.
After cleaning the toilet bowl. Any of these things are chemicals that you don't necessarily want on your skin. And for the directions,
I wonder if a person would be, just to play safe in that, would be not buying the concentrate, but going to the already mixed in a jug.
That would, and a lot of people do that, or they'll buy what they call the refill. It's a pre-mix that they can just pour into their sprayer. It's already mixed up to where they're not really handling it so much. And you can either buy the disposable gloves. That's probably the best way, that when you're finished, you wash your hands with the gloves on, then pull the gloves off and dispose of them in the garbage. But any of the, you bring up a label and you're going to see on pretty much anything that you use is to wear gloves and long shirt and long pants and shoes, and then of stuff that you're not going to be wearing out to go to McDonald's later. You're going to wear this. You're going to wear this and launder it. But even still, what's showing up, and I'm not trying to defend Monsanto. My thought is, everybody gets so litigious. And we live in a litigious society. That's why there's a warning label on clothing: do not iron with child still in it. Kind of thing. Don't iron this shirt, while you're still wearing it. Don't use this steam iron on the dress you're wearing. Come on.
Exactly.
So and we can find, and there's lawyers that are fantastic. They will find those things. That's why there's such huge payoffs, is because how many years how can we sue Monsanto?
Yeah.
How can we sue mega corporation XYZ?
A person uses a lot of chemicals on a yearly basis, for all different kind of reasons. So you just got to be careful, and like you say, read the label and follow instructions.
Right, and you do have to take that there's and as the thing said, as labeled and indicated, when people mix things incorrectly, you don't know what your outcome could be. Taking using a bleach type solution to clean your toilet bowl, and then pouring the bucket of ammonia that you wash the floor with down the toilet, you could come up with something pretty nasty. Emanating fumes from, in your own home, and make yourself and your family sick. So, so just common sense. But I think that what happens is that we get a lot of emotional effect into certain products. And it's easy to attack a big, huge corporation. They have, you can't see me making little quotey marks. They have so much money. They have everything. They had to have lied. They had to have done wrong. They had to have known they were doing something. And that's where, people get into this whole thing of taking one company or whatever, and this is what we're going to sue over.
Yeah.
whether or not it's truly legitimate.
Lawsuit, it was billing a couple of $1 billion, but that's not just for one set of people. It's for everybody that has a problem with that product, right?
I'm not sure if that was one of the class action action suit or not. Yeah. I know one of the first ones that came out was for an individual, but his was, it was millions of dollars on that. And yes, I mean, either loss of life or medical, bills, compensation, things like that. But And I don't want to say anything negative towards the litigant, the person who did the initial suing, but that was never proven that his cancer came from his exposure to the glyphosate. His payment, his winning of that came from the fact that Monsanto, it was not based on science, it was based on emotion, that they had failed to disclose certain kind of things or something like that. That it worked actually, it went that whole other kind of other kind of way, not necessarily proving the bad kind of thing, but
Well, we'll see what happens. Like I say, you got to be careful with stuff. I just wanted to say real quick that this spring we've been warm, but we're getting that inch and a half of rain once a week. Like the other day, again, I had an inch and a half of rain in my gauge. And that kind of like takes care of me for a whole week, and then hopefully about this time next week we'll get another inch. So and we're getting pretty close to the rainy period, rainy time.
Right. Now yesterday's rains were pretty big downpours. That we might have got a lot of rain, but a lot of that was runoff, or ended up being some runoff on that. But we're getting ready to come in that rainy season now. The other week when we got rain, I didn't get any at my house or nothing real measurable. Kidding. There was one day that it went around me. So, it depends on where you're at, and you're towards the east side of the county. If I'm not mistaken, a lot of times you get that's where those collision with the sea breezes, come in, that you'll get it either way over on the west side of the county or way over on the east side of the county, and some of those of us in the middle, hey, where'd all that rain go? I heard the thunder. Yeah, right. Anyway, we're looking around the sun shining.
Okay, well, let's hope. When does the rainy season actually officially start? Like June 1st?
I think it's like June 1st. Yeah, like the beginning of hurricane season. It's usually that's when the temperatures. I think it does have something to do with the ocean temperatures as well as the way the wind currents have changed off of the jet streams and things like that, of when they're pushing, how they're pushing into the state to cause those collisions of to bring those heavy rains.
Well, anyway, so far so good. So let's hope we have a nice, not a real heavy storms or hurricanes, but a lot of moisture, because with this sandy soil here, boy, it doesn't take long before you get into a drought situation.
Well, that's true. That is very true.
All right, thank you very much.
Oh, yeah, thank you. Yeah,
Bye now.
Bye-bye.
The phone line is open if you want to call. The number is, you need to know this because it's a temporary number. It's not the number we've used for all these years, although I do think we're getting that number back maybe today. But right now, the number is 863-473-4370. 863-473-4370. And I looked up to see if it was a class action lawsuit. It was not.
Right.
It was two people. Right. But there are 13,000 other people who've also filed lawsuits, so they're afraid now, or they're saying now, I don't know if they're afraid, but they're saying that this decision could set precedents for the other 13,000. So it's almost like a class action lawsuit.
Right. One of those kind of things. All right.
Ready for another call?
Sure.
Good morning. You're on the air with Carol Ann.
Hey, good morning, Larry. Good morning, Carol Ann. How are you?
Hey, Joe.
Good.
I tell you what, that phone system. How do you lose your phone number, Larry?
With a bad storm.
Golly,
It is an interesting question. I don't know. I just drive the bus. I don't own it.
I worked in that field for a few years, and it's like amazing when people would change their telephone purveyors. You would lose your number for several weeks, and then when you tried to go back, they would take it away. Right. What a mess. But that's not what I'm calling about. Carol Ann, I've seen this on your wonderful website in the garden about people using clover, a white clover, as a ground cover and a substitute for lawn grasses. You can't buy clover seeds anywhere in Ocala. You can buy it on Amazon, of course.
Right.
Do you have any type of opinion on this? Because I've got areas in my yard that are total shade and nothing grows but dirt.
Yeah, it's there's different ones. I'm not sure whether or not you can get a good clover. I mean, it's usually would be a cover crop is normally what we think of clover and things like that. Here in Florida, is something that you're going to put across an area that you're then going to till in later because it's putting a little green manure in there and more of a cover crop. So I'm not sure, and I know I went to myself, I said, I really need to read that a little further and see how any of these do for us. Because even the clover, I think, is something that's going to want full sun. And that ends up being most of the problem that more people have is that they want to grow grass in shaded areas.
Yeah, and I agree with you on that. And what little I read, which isn't a whole lot, is that people are using it for high shade areas to provide, a little bit of green cover in there. And it's supposed to be a phenomenal nitrogen source for the soil as well.
Right. It would be more like a legume, like a nitrogen fixing. But that's why I said it's a. The only times I've really heard of it mostly being used would be as something that as a cover crop. I've not heard anybody using it as a lawn, at least not around here. I'm not sure. I'd have to take a look at it as well and see how see what the university thinks on something like that.
And you got to wear your gloves.
You do
when you mess with bad stuff.
You sure do, and the plastic gloves. I call them plastic gloves. The disposable gloves. If they're disposable, don't try to reuse them. They're generally going to tear anyway. No. Yeah, wash your hands before you take them off. Even wash them to where you're not transferring what's on the outside of the glove to your hand when you go to wad it up and take them off like a surgeon does. It's actually you pull it off the one and then put your fingers in the glove and flip that other one inside out. Drop it right in your garbage can. So.
And I've got a bottle of Roundup in my shed that's been there 10 years probably.
Yeah.
It is the last go-to item.
Right.
They're very, stubborn. Otherwise, I use the old 1 pound of Epsom salts, a little white vinegar, and enough dish detergent to break surface tension.
Right.
You just got to keep reapplying it. But
sure. But it's
probably drink it and it wouldn't hurt you.
Yeah, the dish soap might give you an effect later. Might clean you out a little bit, but.
Well, so there's another beneficial property, just more organic weed control, isn't there?
There you go.
You guys are great. Thank you. Talk to you later.
All right. Have a great day.
All right. We're up against a break. Let's take that break. We'll be right back. If you want to call in, you're invited to do that. The number is open right now, but we won't take the call till after the break in about 3 minutes. The number is 863-473-4370. We'll be right back with Carol Ann. In the Garden with Carol Ann is up again next on the other half. We'll be right back.
Broadcasting from the Paddock Mall Studios, this is WOCA, Ocala, Gainesville, The Villages, 1370 AM, 96.3 FM, The Source.
Here is your 1-minute news brief. A 29-year-old Oregon man was struck and killed Sunday night while standing in the road at Northeast 7th Street in Ocala. A 38-year-old Broward County man was arrested and charged with third-degree murder after he allegedly killed his ex-boyfriend and set his apartment on fire. A 70-year-old woman has died after collapsing during a snorkeling trip in the Florida Keys. President Trump says his administration will seek $200 million for federal work on watershed restoration in the Everglades this year. A federal judge has ruled that more Florida counties must provide election materials and ballots in Spanish by March of 2020 when the presidential primary election is held. A 29-year-old Daytona Beach man is facing charges after bringing a pistol and ammunition to Disney World. And Disney has released a new video that lets you take a 360-degree tour inside one of the upcoming Star Wars Galaxy Edge attractions opening in Disney World on August 29th. And that is your news brief from The Source.
Times of clouds and sunshine today. Look for a shower or thunderstorm around from late morning on, although there'll be a couple of showers and a thunderstorm from late morning on near the coast as well. The high 81 at the coast, 85 inland. Remaining mostly cloudy Tuesday night with a low in the 60s. Wednesday will be partly sunny, just a shower or thunderstorm in spots near the coast. The high 82 at the coast, 86 inland. And for Thursday, partly sunny, high 84 at the coast, 88 inland. From the Florida Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Joe Lundberg.
Hey folks, just as the weather warms up, the deals get hotter and hotter at Baldwin's Camellia Gardens in Ocala. Here are just a few of this week's examples. They come straight at you from the ad. Dwarf, smaller citrus trees, they're perfect for small spaces, including orange, grapefruit, lemon, lime, others, not $139, just $99.99 at Baldwin's. Other fruit trees like plum, peach, apple, nectarine, banana, and pecan, selling for half price, just $29.99. It's crepe myrtle time, and you've not seen the selection till you see what Bob Wines has. All crepe myrtles from $9.99 to $349.99. Buy one, get one free. And those wonderful Easy Care drift roses, big number 2 size, for just $14.99. Hurry on over to Bob Wines Camellia Gardens, Southeast 38th Street, Ocala, daily till 4:30, Saturdays till 3, in the same blooming place since 1952.
All right, 24 minutes before 10 o'clock, let's return to Carol Ann Baldwin. The show is called In the Garden with Carol Ann, and if you'd like to be on the show, In the Garden, the number is 863-473-4370. 863-473-4370. We will be getting our local number back, I think, in a day or maybe even later today. But for now, you got to use that long one, 863-473-4370.
And it does not go smooth.
It does
one of those
not.
things.
It
just does not roll off the tongue
It
well.
just
Yeah.
doesn't, no.
Yeah, nothing like 622-9622. Yeah, that just, boom, it's there. The 622 WCA, it always works. But here, on Joe's question, I did a thing on the Solutions for Your Life, the UFIFAS website, and what is the name of this thing? And I'm going to lose the page. Alternatives to turfgrass lawns. And was one of Gary Knox's articles, and it does have clover on here. And I guess so now the big question is how well does it do and where to get a source of the seed, possibly locally. And it could just be, too, the time of year. It may be a timing of the better time to put it down. Because there's clover, they're talking, let me get that up there.
If you put crimson with clover, would you put it over and over?
Probably may have to replant that annually, I'm not sure.
What is crimson? That's a color, right? Is there a plant called
I don't
crimson?
know if there is.
What is that song about, anyway?
I don't know. But that is, the clover is one that's on there. Sedge, dichondra. There are some, the perennial peanut is another kind of thing that we think about. But if you're looking for something that actually you could walk on, I would think, or at least somewhat, you're looking probably more at like the clover. And there are also some of the, I shrink my picture there, otherwise the page doesn't turn right. Thyme, oregano, chamomile, other creeping herbs, creeping jenny. There's a few different things out there. How creeping, not creepy. Oh. That's just what.
Say, poor Jenny.
Yeah, she got a bad rap there, but it's more it becomes a ground cover versus a lawn. Depends on your functionality and such. And this is a more of like a PowerPoint presentation. It's got different things. So I'll try to take a look at it and see what we've got. If there's any information on any of these, because I'm not getting. This would have been something where somebody would have been talking and I could have written notes. So it's not giving me exactly what I want. I'll have to look around for some more.
Can I tell you something? I have a question, sort of, kind of. But this, I don't know if that's a question or not. Just an observation. But anyway, you've talked about how certain plants grow here that don't grow further north, and further south they got some that don't grow here. So, and I'm guessing that's because of temperature, right? So,
temperature, rainfall, humidity, lack of temperature, or not lack of, too much temperature. So the heat, the rain.
So the one thing that varies is latitude, longitude, temperature, aridity, or humidity. But the saguaro, that cactus, the big one, that actually requires a certain altitude, according to what they say. They don't grow. It has to be higher
than the lower, than some of the lower.
Isn't that weird?
It's everything. Well, and it's the oxygen. Is probably what some of that is also. Is that you have alpine type plants as well as desert or sea level plants. Some plants, and when you're looking at some of your turf alternatives, you're also looking at salt tolerance also. If you're living coastal, what plants will take that salt
like
air?
Those mangrove, what do you call them?
The mangroves, mangroves that they need to be, they grow in water. And they're a great filter for different things that come through the lower waters, make a great ecosystem down at the water's edge and things. But what I was going to say earlier today is just knowing how much rain that we got yesterday, how much runoff. Happened to be a couple storm drains on the side of my garden center. With that heavy rain, all the leaves that were anywhere just covered those things up. Covered them up. So then again, we were getting water up underneath, pallets of soil and things like that. And you think, okay, there's your runoff. We talk about this, occasionally, and this too goes towards, you could say, the glyphosate, your atrazine, your lawn fertilizers, and things like that. Yesterday was one of those reasons why we don't put down pesticides, fertilizers, and things like that before a rain event, and why we finish our fertilization, or we try to, before June the 1st, before that rainy season starts, because we don't know if we'll get a quarter of an inch of rain or we'll get 5 inches of rain. Who knows? On that. It's one of those kind of things that you're never real sure what you will get out of that rain event. So if you are one who fertilizes their lawn on a regular basis, get that done here over the next couple weeks, so that when that rainy season starts, and yes, we've been pretty warm. You don't want, and that breaks down, some of the stuff. You don't want to be one. You're thinking that you put your fertilizer down, and next thing you know, it's down in the storm drain. We've had enough, outbreaks of algae blooms and things like that over the years, and I think if we can all it's a small part. Cut back on how much you're putting down. Use alternative type things to putting, to getting that lawn to look nice. You don't have to pack on a fertilizer that's a quick release 32% nitrogen fertilizer. All that's going to do is make you get out there with the lawnmower more. You're going out there and every time you mow your grass, and I forget the formulation on it, but it's like over the course of the summer of mowing your lawn, that you're putting like a pound of nitrogen back in to your lawn. From what you've mowed off the grass. It's the grass can refeed itself. I mean, nobody goes out into a forest and fertilizes.
And yet it grows. And it grows well, grassy plains, so long as they get rain, they grow just fine. And even the ones, even when they have a drought time, it might all die off, but it comes back when, that drought ends, without any interference by us. Who was that guy you had sitting in here one time for you? Wrote a book about something, David the Good?
David the Good, yeah.
David the Good, yeah. I remember he was talking about a book he wrote about his own garden, and he lets nature take care of it or whatever.
Pretty much. I mean, that's Of course, I don't have turf in my yard at all. There's too many trees. I mean, I was thinking maybe this coming fall I might try to get some ryegrass down just to see if that would help to just make things a little greener.
So here's a dumb question.
Yeah.
I'm good for dumb questions.
Yeah, we like dumb questions.
Rye bread, the seed that's in rye bread.
Right.
Is that ryegrass?
It's a different kind.
If you could plant that and it would grow.
It's a different kind. There's a cereal rye, and then there's your ryegrass. It is a little bit different.
Because I like that.
Yeah, rye bread's good. Good with ham, a little mustard, Swiss. Here we go on food again.
Let me announce a number real quickly since
sure.
it's a different number. If you want to call in, we are inviting you to call in. If you're using the old number, we apologize. That is being fixed.
It's broken.
It is definitely broken. But we have one that'll work. It's 863-473-4370. So you got 473 and then 437 and they had a 0. 863-473-4370. I know.
That confused me even more.
It's probably, I know, it's probably a word I could spell out if I thought about it.
Yeah, if you get the phone out and pick it all out. It's one of those, the games on.
I think you got a call coming in.
Did we get a call?
Good morning, you're on the air with Carol Ann.
Wow.
That's me. Hello.
Hello?
Hey, you're on the air.
Here you are.
I have a question.
Sure.
It's not about food. Someone gave me a staghorn fern pup.
Yes. Okay.
They gave it to me in a little pot that's got dirt around it.
Okay.
How can I transfer that into what type of a pot that we see hanging from trees as it grows? And what kind of soil or pot should I use to start that little pup out?
Okay. You can do that in a lot of different ways. You could either get one of the cocoa liner hanging baskets. Those are the ones that, it's a hanging basket. It has that some people say, hairy looking, the cocoa liners. They come right in there.
Yes.
Yeah, familiar with that. And then you can just use, make a mixture with some peat moss and just a potting mix. It's not gonna matter too much on that, and just sort of attach that little one to the side of the cocoa liner. You could even just sort of tuck it in between the wire basket and the cocoa liner. You might need to use a little fishing line or a little bit of wire or something to attach that on there, and just hang it up. They usually prefer a little bit of a shaded, filtered light location. That's one way to start. That's a small one. If you only have one, you could even just take and get some sphagnum moss and a piece of wood. A log. Normally it's recommended like white oak just because it doesn't rot out real quickly. And with the sphagnum moss behind there, I'm trying to think of the word, on the fern has, where it's at the pot level, and I believe they call it a hood. That flat section that sort of is like probably trying to come over the side of the pot, that's what you're mounting on. That's where the roots or the base of that plant is, that you can just put a little bit of moss behind that and anchor that onto a board, put a little chain or something where you can hang it while it's still small, and be able to do like that and just mount that onto a board, onto a piece of wood, anything like that with with a little bit of sphagnum moss behind there, and just get it fastened on with a little bit of fishing line, not real tight on there, just something to where it's going to hold it so it doesn't fall off.
Well, that's what I need to know, and thank you very much.
Oh, you're welcome.
I listened to your program, and you talked about the hood. I don't think that's a Brooklyn hood, is it?
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Certainly enjoy your programs.
Hey, thank you. Thank you for being a listener. Yep.
Listen, I have a funny thing to tell you.
Yeah.
So there's a website called phonespell.org.
Okay. Oh, okay.
And you put in your numbers, and it'll tell you what your number spells out.
Okay.
Well, basically, this new number we have is just as confusing if I read it to you. But I put my own number in there.
Okay.
My number spells out flabby hoe.
Wow.
Flabby Ho. Isn't that awesome?
That's a little scary. That's crazy.
I like that.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, have fun with this website.
Yeah, what's it called?
Phonespell.org.
Phonespell.org.
Yeah.
I have to try that one. That's a little weird.
So I can't give you a name, words, because it just
no, it doesn't come out
crazy.
to garbly. Yeah.
Wait, let me go back to it because I stuck on Flabby Ho for a second there. But it's 1-8. Well, you don't need to do the one. Just 863-473-4370, which does spell out IRE ID 70.
IRE ID.
IRE, IRE, and then ID, and then 70. They couldn't do anything with those last two numbers.
No. Probably not, but and sometimes you don't, you get, the word and two more digits.
Mine spells out Flabby Ho. It's funny. All right, 863-473-4370. You want to talk about your plants, your gardens? This is probably the time of year when you notice you live. When I flew out west,
right,
I'm looking out of the window of the airplane,
right,
and I noticed that there's not a whole lot of green stuff going on until about mid-Texas somewhere.
Oh, wow.
Then you notice that the sand starts to become more of green.
Little green, right.
I'm getting home now.
Right, gotcha. And it's funny because and I'm sure a lot of people are on some of the different Facebook pages where, in the gardening pages, that people are going, well, I haven't had a chance to set my tomatoes out yet. It's still cold. And I'm going, wow. And ours, if they hadn't been in the ground for a couple months, they're not going to make fruit, because our nighttime temperatures are getting too high and things like that. And even actually today, I had brought up, and I could just do this on the other, but it might be faster, easier to do it here. Maybe.
By the way, you said something about corn I wanted to share with you, too.
Oh, okay. Well, what you got on corn? I'm going to try to see if I can find what I'm looking for.
Well, you had said that if you don't grow corn wide and long,
right.
that if you just grew it in a line,
it's not going to do
make much corn.
Right.
So I heard somebody was talking about corn, and I said, well, wait a minute. There's a lady who does the show on Tuesdays, Carol Ann. You got to put them in clumps. You got to have like 10 by 10.
Right,
you can't have a line.
Yeah, you can't just do one line. You need at least 3 rows to do it. That was interesting,
yeah.
And okay, here's it on May the 14th, this day, in 2013, so 6 years ago.
Right.
I was complaining it was cold.
Were you?
Yes, I was. It's because it's on memory on Facebook. It's okay, folks. It's May 14th. What's up with the cold weather? Let me see if I have where the temperature was on it. Okay. Then I commented that it was 46 degrees.
Wow, on this date,
on this date, 6 years ago.
Were we already complaining about global warming back then?
Well, of course. Yeah, I mean it was global warming at that point. Yeah, and it was funny because I had seen a picture from the year before that of and it's a little, I should post it. It was a little mouse in a potted palm tree, and if you saw the picture originally when I posted it, it's actually a robolini that's in a patio palm thing, and they had been shipped in, and they came up from Miami, and these were, I remember this fully because they were wrapped in paper. This palm comes wrapped in paper because it's a patio one. They can jam them closer together like that. And it was cold that day too. Because when I opened it up, I went, "Oh, poor little mouse. He's going to be, it's going to be culture shock. You're coming up from Miami, and suddenly you're where it's a bit colder this morning. And when you went to sleep last night, you were tucked in warm in this flower pot. And so that was another one where it was a chilly morning. And let's see. No,
I talked to rodents too, by the way.
Oh, he was cute. And somebody goes. Asked what his name was. I had not named him, so he was just a little mouse, and he took off. No name. He didn't hang out for too long. The mouse with no name. Mouse with no name. But, so, I mean, we can have weather that's really, that it was 46 degrees on this day 6 years ago.
Really? It's nice.
And today it's going, to 90?
I bet it gets close, yeah.
And overnight, I think they said overnight, because the rain we had yesterday was like 68 degrees. So it was, it was actually quite pleasant out there this morning. And I think it's going to warm up. I don't think they're really calling for much rain today, but, probably keep
it depends on who you listen to.
Right. It depends probably on which side of the county you're on, too.
Yeah.
Or if you happen to be driving up and down the interstate or something like that you might run into some, further south of us, where sometimes that just doesn't come up quite this far north on that. But, it's a time of year to keep the raincoat or the umbrella in the car. When you're looking at the landscape, trying to get some things going, or just like I said, watch your fertilizer use. Don't be putting it down when you think you're gonna get some rain. What sense does it make to put down an herbicide to kill some weeds if it's going to rain? They work best if they've got a few days of dry, sunny weather. That's how they're going to do their best job, whether or not you're using an organic variety or a synthetic chemical. Same with your fertilizers. If you're using liquid fertilizers like a Miracle Grow, pick another brand, all the same kind of things. The stuff you mix with water to put out is a liquid fertilizer. If you'd have put that out Sunday and it rained like it did yesterday, your fertilizer's gone. It makes no sense. It's gone.
Away,
it's gone. It's past the root system, headed towards the aquifer. There's some of the manufacturers still make a lawn fertilizer that's a liquid. And yes, I know the commercial applicators all use liquid fertilizers. Mention a big name one that comes out on a monthly basis and they're spraying something. And, theirs is generally in such a minute amount that it is absorbed. Whatever's left over is going to be minor. But when what's packaged for Mr. and Mrs. Homeowner is something that's in a bottle that's 5,000 square foot or whatever, and you're putting it out, and if you're putting it out first thing Monday morning and it rains Monday afternoon, your fertilizer's gone, and it has it's no benefit towards or very little benefit to your lawn, and much more detrimental further down the line, where we don't need it, running off or just being pushed down past the root zone. What good is it if it's down past your root zone? It's not being taken up by the plant anymore.
Really. We've got a few more minutes left, and actually 3 more minutes if you'd like to call in. The number one more time, 863-473-4370. Carol Ann is here to talk to you about your plants, your gardens, your lawns. Don't forget, she has a Facebook page also. It's called In the Garden.
Yep.
And you can see the photographs that people have posted on there. I do now and then. And Carolyn put a nice picture this morning of a
magnolia blossom that's right outside of the studio here. The tree's right out there. And I walked up and I went, "Ooh, I can get a nice picture of that." Yeah.
They have a nice smell.
They
those
do.
Things,
they do. And it's crazy. I have a very large magnolia tree in my yard. And I know it has bloomed because I get the seed pod that drops, and I get the outer covering
But you didn't see it?
I can't see the flowers.
Really?
They're either too high or whatever. Even from my upstairs window, I go out, I look, I try to see, I try to stand back in the yard and see. It's like I never find the flowers on them, so I'm a little disappointed.
So as a flower, though, it doesn't last very long, does it?
No, it doesn't, and it doesn't seem like the fragrance really comes until those what is it? The pistils, that they start to shed, that the flowers actually moving past its prettiest is when that fragrance really pops out on them. Right. And it's one of those kind of flowers is don't touch the petals because you'll make black spots or brown spots on them.
Oh, really?
So people will look at them and go, "Oh, that looks fake," and they pet it. And next thing you know, that flower's got they look fake, and that next thing you know, you got little dark spots from where the oils in your skin have messed up the flowers.
Oh man, so you gotta be careful with everything.
Oh yeah. No, just be careful out there.
So do you have to work today?
I do. Yeah, I do. Hopefully we have enough sun that customers like to come out, but not so busy that I can't get something done.
Go see Carolyn at Lowe's in Lady Lake.
Lady Lake, that's it. Come find me.
Thank you for doing this, Carolyn.
Hey, my pleasure.
And for the listeners, hang in there. We've got Matt Gibbs coming up next from Sunrise Automotive. I should know that.
You should.
All right, we'll be right back. Thank you, Carolyn.
Thank you, Larry.
Broadcasting from the Paddock Mall Studios, this is WOCA, Ocala, Gainesville, The Villages, 1370 AM, 96.3 FM, The Source.
Fox News, I'm Chris Foster. Attorney General William Barr has appointed someone to investigate the investigation of the Trump campaign.
U.S. Attorney John Durham is tasked with examining the origins of the Russia probe, including whether intelligence gathered on the Trump campaign was lawful and appropriate. This investigation is separate from a similar probe underway by the Justice Department's Inspector General and comes after the Attorney General testified to a congressional panel that he believes spying did occur during the 2016 campaign.
Fox's Rachel Sutherland in Washington. A team of federal aviation investigators will be in Ketchikan, Alaska, to look into a mid-air collision between two small sightseeing planes. There are reports of 4 or 5 people